All right, folks, I'm going to give you a demo of Netlogger. Basically, it's about its daily use, how you can use it, how you can integrate it and send attendance reports to our DTARC website. So I'll show you all that. I'm not going to get into installation. That will be a separate video. I'm still working out some details there on how to install this in Windows. But really, this is just to show you what Netlogger is for, some of the features that it has, and how to use it. So you can see on my screen, Netlogger runs in a browser. It's running on my local machine. And this is the user interface. You can see across the top, we've got our club logo, the name of the program, version 0.10. And then there's some links. User docs, if you click on that, there's some documentation on how to use the application. Save nets, metrics. This shows you past, basically attendance reports for the past nets that have been ran. And this doesn't have to be an RF net, a repeater net. This can be local in-person club attendance. So we could use this to, track attendance as well if you wanted to do that. And then, and I'll talk more about some of these features here in a second. And then there's API docs. Be careful here. This is where there be dragons here. So there are things you can do here to delete all the nets that you've ever recorded, that type of stuff. So unless you're familiar with APIs and how to leverage those, or you're willing to take the risk to delete a lot of your data, then feel free to use this. So I'm going to go back here and go to the main board, and you'll see here a couple of things. In this area, this is the most prevalent. These are known check-ins. So I've already done several test nets using this application, and so people that I have checked in the past will show up in this list. These are called cards, and it's got some of the user details there, and this will be important when we start a new net. So let's just do that. Probably the best way to learn this program is just to play with it and start a net. So let's say we're going to do a weekly net. It's going to be on 146.940, and then I'm going to put my call sign in here. Now, whatever you name this net, that's what it's going to show up as a filter in the graphs. So typically call them weekly nets. It could be a Skywarn net. It could be an Aries net, a Racy's net. Whatever you put in there, that's what it's going to call it in the database. So I've got that populated, and I'm going to click. Well, let me do this. I'll put DTARC weekly net because I've got a bunch of other weekly nets in there. So I'm going to start the net. It adds me to the checked in column, right? And then I can click details and or click on the card, and it expands it, and it sees my name, my location. If I had any traffic, or if any check-in has traffic, you can click that and put the traffic in, put notes in. Click the card again, and it collapses. So that's how cards work, and cards are important because it kind of makes checking in easy at this point. So let's say the next person that checks in is Daniel Thornton. Well, I don't have to type anything. I can just click and drag him over there. Boom, he's checked in. It timestamps when he checked in. These are all UTC. And then let's say Tim checks in, 5:52, and then Gary, and then let's say WD5EFY calls in. Well, we don't see him here in the check-in, so we just WD5EFY, and it says no known station match for WD5EFY. Well, okay, he hasn't checked in before, so I'm going to click the Find Check-in button. It looks him up in the FCC database. It found him, and then it added his card to the checked-in column. If it didn't find him in the FCC database, it would just add him as an unknown user. So we can expanding. We can see that it indeed put his name and his location in there. And let's check in a few more. Dayton and whoever this guy is. random name. Oh, we can't forget bike hooks. So now we got the net's done. I'm going to stop the net, and when you do, it shows up in the saved nets. So there it is. Eight check-ins, no traffic. And then we've got these options to export or send to WordPress. Let me come back to that in a second, because I want to go back to the main board. If you stayed on the main board, there was a clear net button. You could have erased the screen and started a new net. So, or if you start a net, I'm just going to put blah in here. You start a new net, and you realize, oh crud, I made a mistake. I can cancel that net, and it will remove everything out of there, and then you can start over. So, kind of a way to correct any mistakes. The thing I want to focus here now is this update FCC database. When you first install this program, you need to click that button. It will take up to 4 to 5 minutes to update the FCC database. What the program is doing is it's going out to the FCC website and it's downloading the entire FCC amateur radio database. And it's 3 files. It downloads them, it puts them in a format that this program can use to query. So it takes a little time. Once you do it, you don't have to do it very frequently. And here's the operative principle here. Netlogger is primarily designed to be used in an off-grid situation. So you can update the FCC database now, and let's say we have an emergency event in 3 days. I hear the thunder outside right now. Thank goodness we're getting rain. Let's say it's a terrible event and we're without grid power, and we need to hold a net. I can look up the call signs without being connected to the internet. So I can manage that net, document the net, and do all of that completely offline. So that's the important distinction there. Now let's talk about the online feature. So if I go to the save nets, this net that we just took, I want to send it to WordPress. This means that in the way I have it configured now, it's going to send this particular weekly net, or I'm sorry, this DTARC weekly net to our DTARC website. So, but before we do that, we've got to configure a few things. If you're a net control operator, you're a club member, you have a login to the club website, you're going to have to set up a password in order for this to work. So let me show you what this looks like. If I view or edit the WordPress settings, this is the URL. You may not can see that if the screen is too small. This is the URL that it sends it to the club website. This is my club website login. And then I have my club website password in here. And I'll show you how to generate that password in a second. So if I click test only here, everything as it's configured is working correctly. And then I'm going to save the settings. Now I can send this to WordPress. Let me show you before I send that, I'll show you where you get your password. So I'm here. Let me log out so you can see what logging in looks like. So if you just go to the club website, it looks like this. And if I have a login button up here, so I click that. And I'm going to put my K5 SUB. And then I'm going to put my password. This is a different password than what we're fixing to generate. This is your club password. Log in. Oh, I probably did not put it in correctly. All right. So now that I'm logged in, I want to real quick show you a couple things. So net attendance. We could actually take attendance here. We could start a net, and it doesn't look exactly the same way as Netlogger does, but it's a rudimentary way to take attendance. Or let's just say that we took a net and we knew that we had 8 operators on this particular day. We could do rapid entry, and then we could put the head count in here and update it. That's all we really need to generate the charts, the attendance reports. So that's what that looks like. So if I go back, I clicked the wrong button. If I do net attendance here, we're trying to create the password. If I go to my profile, edit profile, and then I look at this box here, new application password name. I called mine Netlogger. You can see there, net-logger. And once you name it, you click add application password, and a password will pop up. You will need to copy that and save it. Click your update profile. That saves the password. And then you paste it here in this password section. Once you do that, it should work. So I'm going to click this send to WordPress. Gives me a warning. This can only be done once. And then it deletes it. Or it doesn't delete it, but it makes it where you can't send it again. We don't want to duplicate a bunch of check-ins. So now let's see what that looks like. So if I go back to the home page and I do members only net attendance. Now I have these charts. So DTARC weekly net. So if I can group by day, week, month, or year, and then we can see attendance over time. We can look at just the DTARC weekly net. We could just look at the weekly nets. You can see there's two. This is all test data. And this is just kind of a way to keep track of our net attendance. I hope everyone finds it useful. If not, then I don't consider it a waste of time. I learned a lot about WordPress, and I got to write some code, which I haven't been able to do in quite some time. Anyway, so the next video I will show you how to install Netlogger, and hopefully we can get you off to the races. All right, talk to you later.